welcome to Galata Plus. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Anubhav Sinha's Anek, which has Ayushmann Khurrana in one of the main roles. Now, Anubhav Sinha may be one of the most important and also one of the most earnest filmmakers in Hindi cinema today. Ever since he made that U-turn with Mulk, he has been a man on a mission. There's a Bhagat Singh line used in Article 15 that it takes a very loud noise to make the deaf hear. That is Anubhav's guiding philosophy, which is why his films function at two levels. At the surface level, there is the story, the narrative, and underneath that, there's the scaffolding of a serious issue. There's also a ton of research, and yet these are not simple-minded message movies. What Anubhav makes, they are not message movies in the simplest sense. In Article 15, the dominant caste protagonist is no simple-minded savior. He doesn't parachute down and rescue the Dalit girl. He has to first earn the right to save that girl, which means that he has to educate himself first about life in rural India. He has to understand that what he is dealing with, and finally, only then does he descend into a metaphorical swamp that symbolizes all the muck that has permeated our society. Only then can he save the girl. There is this great line that this Ayushmann's wife delivers in that movie, "Hero nahi chahiye, bas aise log chahiye jo hero ka wait na kare." We don't need a hero. We just need people who don't wait for heroes. Accordingly, Ayushmann Khurrana is not the hero of Anubhav's new film Anek. The film is set in the Northeast, which forms the NE in the title design of A-N-E-K. He is not even the protagonist, nor is he the savior. Like in Article 15, he is a somewhat cocky man who comes to a new place and realizes he is out of his depth, and he becomes our guide through the unrest in the region. His name is significant. Anubhav likes naming his characters along the lines of their functions in the plot. In Article 15, you may recall the Dalit activist, his name was Nishad, which is the name of a caste that is ranked lower down in the Varna system. Ekalavya, for instance, was a Nishada. In Anek, we get a jingoistic soldier who speaks as though every line of his was written by Sunny Deol from Gadar. His name, it's Veer. What a valorous name. And Ayushmann is named Aman, which means peace. He works on secret missions for India, for the Indian government, apparently to bring about peace. But how do you define peace? This is the point Anubhav wants us to dwell on in Anek, whose crux is the signing of a peace accord with a man who heads the most powerful separatist group in the region. There is a line in the film that goes, "One man's peace is another man's chaos." So if Delhi, the power center, wants peace in the Northeast, it is by unleashing armed forces and unimaginable horrors on those regions. Through men like Aman, Delhi captures the militants and can claim to have obtained peace, but the civilians are left in chaos. At another point, peace is defined as something that is confused with control. Think about that for a second. What a great thought. Finally, we get this thought. Is it possible that nobody really wants this peace, that unrest is the natural state of affairs? The big problem in Anek is that a lot of this comes in the form of in-your-face dialogue, which makes us feel like we are listening to a political manifesto. I'm going to give you some lines. Delhi is like a landlord. Violence is not a solution. People know nothing about our struggle. Indians do not accept diversity. Soldiers look at our children like terrorists, and many of these children are 10th class dropouts. In addition to these lines, there are discussions about elections every 5 years that change nothing, or how to define an Indian. Aman's voiceovers are at least a bit better. There's at least a touch of poetry in them, a sense of self-examination, and a diary-like making sense of what is happening. But the other lines, though true, are far too simplistic, as are some of the character arcs. When a boy sings a beautiful song, we know something bad is going to happen to him. Either he's going to die, or the song on his lips is going to be replaced with a gun in his hands. We know this because it is an inevitability that we have witnessed in countless films about war. The powerful visual images and conceptual touches work much better. Anek makes us wonder what Mary Kom must have felt after winning her medals and holding up the Indian flag. Pride, certainly, but perhaps there was also the confusion of representing a country that doesn't really treat you as one of its citizens. This character, a boxer, is played by Andrea Kevichusa. It is an awkward performance, but the character serves a purpose. Her boxing matches are contrasted with actual fighting in her region. Two forms of combat, one indoors, one outdoors. That's a nice conceptual touch, and Ewan Mulligan's cinematography brings out the beauty of bloodletting as well as the tragedy of it all. Even better is the romance that this character has with a mainland Indian. It is a metaphorical thing that someone from her region cannot trust anyone from the mainland country. But these conceits are few and far between, and Anek for the most part becomes a series of mini sermons and op-ed piece in the form of a film. Anubhav tries to shape this information into conversations, but we are always aware that we are being spoon-fed a bitter pill. Research is certainly important, but it is more important that the audience is unaware of this research, of how much research has gone into a film. That is when the fourth wall collapses and we truly enter the world of the movie. If Anubhav Sinha wants to continue on this path, this is something he might want to think about. A 2.5 hour film cannot ever convey everything. Anek does have its strengths. It does not take sides. Both mainland India and the Northeast are shown to have their own issues and their own sly agendas. And the film has some wonderful performances, especially the one by Manoj Pahwa, whose cheerful exterior hides all shades of sinister motives. But the gut punch of a mulk, that's missing. After the film, I wondered why. There too, we had explicit dialogues like who's a jihadi. There too, we had a Hindu woman with the very Hindu name of Aarti. There too, we had lines like this one. It is not a religious community that killed Gandhi, but one man. But in that film, and in Thappad, and in Article 15, we were following one narrative about one person or one family. So by concentrating and containing a large issue among a small group of people, we got to know them as individuals, and we had an automatic emotional hook. A region is more abstract than a person, and perhaps the reason Anek stays aloof is because everyone is given equal space, and it's not just one narrative about one person or one family. If you think along those lines, Anek is certainly a more inclusive movie than those earlier ones, because here the cast is kind of spread out and we are asked to care about everyone. But even that is more of an interesting concept than a compelling work of drama. So that's it about Anek. If you like this review, do subscribe to Galata Plus and see you soon at the movies.